Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Well, thank you for coming this evening to our Tuesday evening study of the life of Sri Sarada Devi, Holy Mother, as compiled and very lovingly written by Swami Chaitananda. He published it as Sri Sarada Devi, Her Divine Play. And Haima is
Yes.
very capably serving as our reader. She'll tell us what page we're on.
Sure, Brother Shankara. We are on, actually, we stopped on the top of page 713, 713. I would go back just a little bit to give where we started out. Few lines on 712 at the end of the paragraph. Would that be okay, Brother Shankara?
Absolutely, dear.
Okay. Because mother is leaving her village, that's where we left off. So I just want to go back a little bit and then continue from there.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Namaste. Here I am on page 712 in the bottom of the page. Facing the village, mother said, one's mother and one's birthplace are higher than heaven. Thus, saluting the village, she got inside the palanquin, but she kept her feet out for hurry to wash in the pan. Aunt Subhashini then gave the sweets and water to the mother, a little of which she took, and then she chewed the crushed beetle roll. The bearers lifted the palanquin and moved towards Sihar. The villagers watched the mother's departure intently and with tearful eyes. I followed the palanquin riding on my bicycle. The mother asked the bearers to stop near the Shantinath Shiva temple at Sihar. She got down and went to a nearby pond where she washed her hands and feet. Then she bought 2 rupees worth of sweets, sandesh, sugar, and nabat. Entering the temple, she bowed down to Lord Shantinath and offered the sweets. Many men, women, and children of Sihar came to see the mother. She distributed that sweet prasad to all. She ate a little and gave some to us. Then she tied a little prasad in the corner of her cloth for Radhu. We reached Kolpara by 11 o'clock in the morning. All of the bullock carts had arrived before us. We were unloading the luggage at Kolpara when a mosquito curtain was found to be missing. Bhumananda privately told me that by mistake, he had left the money bag containing the traveling funds on the cornice of Uncle Kali's parlor. Immediately, I went back on my bicycle, hid it in the bushes by the river, and crossed the Amador River. I got the money back and returned to Kolpara. Wow. The mother listened to the whole story and commented, I see these are all inauspicious signs. It was decided that the bullock carts would leave Kolpara that very evening for Vishnupur after supper. The mother and Maku would start the next morning by palanquin, and I would follow them by bicycle. In the morning, when I arrived at the Jagadamba ashrama, the mother had already finished the worship with flowers and sweets and was wrapping the master's picture with a cloth. Then, while placing it in her tin box, she addressed the master, please get ready. Now it is time to depart. When she saw me, the mother said, Sarada, you have come. Why are you so late? Soon it will be hot. Take this flower for the journey. She touched that flower on her head, handed it over to me, and said, tie it in the corner of your cloth. I did as she asked. She then repeated a mantra while touching my head and chest and affectionately touched my chin. She then bade farewell to all and entered the palanquin. All these days, she was using a stick for walking because of weakness. That stick belonged to her brother Prasanna. She now gave the stick and also a mosquito curtain to Swami Ritanananda to give it to Prasanna. She said to him, my son, I am leaving Sharat behind. He did not understand the implication of her words. There is a little footnote there. This was Holy Mother's final departure from Jairambati. So she returned what she had borrowed from her brother. She also assured her disciple Ritananda that Sharat would look after him after she was gone. There were 8 bearers for each palanquin. Any comments, Brother Shankara? Do you want me to continue?
No,
Okay.
you just go right ahead.
Okay. I rode my bicycle behind the mother's palanquin. After leaving Kotalpur, the mother looked out from the palanquin and called to me, Sarada, always stay near us and go carefully. All of Radhu's and Maku's jewelry is in a box in Maku's palanquin. When I heard this, I was a little concerned. I said Jog Dul, who was devoted to the mother and was the leader of the bearers of Haldigram village. Look, Joe, the mother is a little afraid. Be alert, especially in the jungle section near Vishnupur. Joke replied, what are you saying, brother? We are 16. That means there are 8 bearers for each palanquin. And each one of us has a bamboo staff hidden under the palanquin. No robber can do any harm to the mother while we are alive. Don't be afraid. I was relieved by Joke's words. When we arrived at Jaipur, the mother asked the bearers to stop the palanquin. She got down at the roadside inn where we had cooked food and eaten during her last journey to Jairambati. When she saw the inn's dilapidated condition, the mother remarked, this is our inn. The mother sat on a blanket under a tree next to the inn and said to me, feed the bearers. She then took 2 rupees from her box and asked me to buy puffed rice for them. Of course, I also had some money with me for traveling expenses. The bearers enjoyed the refreshments. The mother warmed up milk for Maku's child and then washed her hands and feet in a nearby pond. Then she said to me, "Buy some puffed rice for me. Let me eat something. And buy puffed rice and some fried things for you and Maku." When I brought all those things, the mother had a few bites and then gave the rest of us, saying, "I can't eat anymore." When the bearers finished their refreshments, the journey continued. The distance between Jaipur and Vishnupur is 8 miles, and both sides of the road are covered with dense jungle. After crossing 4 miles, we reached Tantipukur, where there was a shop by the side of the road. Seeing that shop from the palanquin, the mother told me, "Barada, ask the bearers to stop here. My feet are numb from sitting in the palanquin. Buy a pice worth of oil from that shop and bring it to me in a sal leaf. I shall rub my feet with that oil." I was a little scared because I saw that nearly 30 poor laborers were talking about something near that shop. I told her, "Mother, there are some strange people there. Please don't get down from the palanquin. You stay inside and I will bring the oil." At that time, Maku cried out, "Brother, I'm thirsty from eating puffed rice. I want to drink some water." The mother said, "Go to that pond and drink water." I said, "How can she drink that water? It's bad water." The mother said, "So many passers-by drink that water. You go and drink that water. Nothing will happen. But you go with her." I first brought oil for the mother and then escorted Maku to the pond. Again, our journey continued. As the mother sat in the palanquin, she continued rubbing oil on her outstretched legs and enjoying the wonderful scenery of the sal forest on both sides of the road. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we reached Sureshwar Sen's house in Vishnupur. All of the bullock carts had arrived at 8 o'clock in the morning. Swami Atma Prakashananda and others learned that we had puffed rice on our way, and that was why we were late. They laughed because they knew that people from Bankura are excessively fond of puffed rice. Sureshwar Sen was no more. He had passed away a few months earlier, but his sons and his brother Boshishwar arranged everything just as Sureshwar had done. He had been a wonderful host to the mother. The mother lamented, "Whenever I came here, Suresh would stand in front of this cottage with folded hands waiting for orders. He would not even come onto the veranda. What wonderful devotion he had. Suresh was like a second Girish." At noon, when the mother and her women companions sat on the veranda for their noon meal, Boshishwar took a group photograph. It was the last photo of the mother taken during her lifetime. That day and the next, we stayed in Vishnupur.
Hold on just 1 moment. Anyone who wishes to have that photo, they can get it either from the St. Louis Center or from Vedanta.com, which is the Hollywood Vedanta press that they sell photographs and books and so on from there. So you can, if you want that photo, you can get it from either of those places. Those are the two that I know of. There are doubtless other places, but those are the two. St. Louis, Vedanta Society of St. Louis, or Hollywood's Vedanta.com, which is their sales operation.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
It is also in the printed version of the book, along with the passage we just read. It's on page 715.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
It is.
But most people wouldn't want to cut it out of the book.
Oh, definitely not.
So if they want one to frame and
The last
put
photo,
with,
yes.
put with their loving mementos of the mother, those are two places where they can secure one. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Jeff. Anything else from anyone before we go on? All right, please go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. That day and the next, we stayed in Vishnupur. Then on the third day, we had an early lunch and went to the railway station. According to the mother's directions, we all bought third-class tickets and traveled to Calcutta in the same compartment.
Now, third-class tickets are quite, there's quite a bit of privation for those who have third-class tickets. There are no privileges at a station where the train stops and so on and so forth. So the mother was being very economical and got third-class tickets for everyone. Okay, dear, please go ahead.
When we arrived at Howrah station, we saw Kiran Dutt's phaeton waiting for the mother. That is, there is a little remark at the bottom. According to Swami Saradananda's diary, Friday, February 27th, 1920, Sri Ma reached here, Udbodhan, 9 p.m. that night in Kanjilal's motor. Brahmachari Ganendra, Dr. Durga Pada Ghosh, and others who were at the station to receive the mother. We hired another 4 horse carriages and reached Udbodhan house around 10 o'clock that night, which is 27th February, 1920. And this chapter is ended right there, Brother Shankara. Now we are moving to chapter 35 in this book.
Okay.
Return to her true abode. That is 27th February, 1920 to 1st July, 1920. Chapter 35. Do you want me to continue forward?
Yes, please, dear.
Okay. Here there is a little sloka and pravachana from Mahabharata. I will read this in English. Vidura to Dhritarashtra. Everything is subject to destruction. Everything that is high is sure to fall down. Union is sure to end in separation. Life is sure to end in death. Death drags all creatures down, even the gods. There is none dear or hateful to death, O Kuru chief. I'll read this one more time.
Please do. And
yes.
Let's all meditate on this. This will be the topic of not this particular verse, but I'll probably quote this verse. This will be the topic of the first talk in November, which is the witness watcheth disintegration. So please read it again, dear.
Vidura to Dhritarashtra. Everything is subject to destruction. Everything that is high is sure to fall down. Union is sure to end in separation. Life is sure to end in death. Death drags all creatures down, even the gods. There is none dear or hateful to death, O Kuru chief. That is Dhritarashtra.
Mm-hmm.
The life of every human being is a story, and every human story has a beginning and an end.
Oh, please, just one moment. Let's again keep in mind that this is Swami Chaitananda speaking directly to us from his great store of wisdom. I mean, he is a great monk of the order, one of the most senior monks now. And this is his wisdom we're hearing. So it is distilled from many decades of spiritual practice and contemplation, concentration, and meditation. Okay, please, again, dear.
The life of every human being is a story, and every human story has a beginning and an end. The stories of ordinary human beings end as soon as they die. They remain in the memory of their relatives and friends for a short while, but gradually they pass into oblivion. Divine stories continue eternally, like the flow of a river. Stories of divine beings such as Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Ramakrishna, Sarada Devi, and others continue throughout the ages because their life stories enter into the realm of human imagination. People keep them alive.
That means that all of these beings are still with us. So read that, please, again, dear, that sentence.
Divine stories continue eternally like the flow of a river. Stories of divine beings such as Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Ramakrishna, Sarada Devi, and others continue throughout the ages because their life stories enter into the realm of human imagination.
Now, human imagination is not what we think of when we normally think of imagination. That's not how the Swami is using the word. He's using its word in its true sense. Our ability to imagine things, our ability to hold images and very profound thoughts. Imagination. We think of imagination as fancy or fantasy, or, oh, that's your, we're told as children, oh, that's just your imaginary friend. But it's very real to the child, and it is real. They have imagined it, and it comes from something real. So this is what he means. They enter into the realm of human imagination. We're able to hold them in our hearts, which is the imaging part. The left brain is the language part. The right brain and the heart are the imaging or the imagination part. And it is a far more profound place, far, far, far more profound place than the left mind. We need the left mind, no question, but the right mind and the heart are where the divine presence is reflected in our imagination. And as this right mind and heart are purified, then these images become ever clearer till they become overwhelming, brilliant, and they simply completely, so to speak, overwhelm us. And this is Savikalpa Samadhi when this happens. So any comments or questions about that? This is a very key point that the Swami has made, that these divine beings enter the realm of human imagination. Okay, dear.
People keep them alive in their hearts through meditation and by practicing their teachings in daily life, so their stories remain ever fresh. At the advent of an avatar or divine incarnation, a renaissance occurs, a new civilization begins, and a cultural revival takes place. Although Christ's public life lasted only 3 years, his contribution to the world of thought and culture has lasted more than 2,000 years. His life and teachings still inspire countless artists in every field: painters, sculptors, architects, poets, writers, musicians, actors, and dramatists. I will read this one more time.
Yes, right from the beginning, please.
At the advent of an avatar or divine incarnation, a renaissance occurs, a new civilization begins, and a cultural revival takes place. Although Christ's public life lasted only 3 years, his contribution to the world of thought and culture has lasted for more than 2,000 years. His life and teachings still inspire countless artists in every field: painters, sculptors, architects, poets, writers, musicians, actors, and dramatists. The avatars who lived before Christ, Rama.
Dear heart, that word is pronounced Christ. I know that in Greek it's Christos, but in English it's Christ. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I'm glad you corrected me. That's good, Brother Shankara. The avatars who lived before Christ, Rama, Krishna, and Buddha, continue to inspire writers and artists all over the world. Now, in the present age, the inspiring and fascinating life stories of Ramakrishna and Sarada Devi are in the domain of human imagination, and they are spreading all over the world.
And here they are with us tonight, inspiring our imagination, giving us that much more to contemplate, concentrate on, and take into our meditation. All these stories of the mother, all these little incidents, the reason that Chaitanananda is so careful to narrate them and get them so precisely correct is so that there can be no difference between the reality and how he narrates it. Believe me, he is so careful. I know this man. I've known him since 1973. I'm not speculating about this. He is surpassingly careful. And so everything that he writes here, there is no difference between the way he tells us the story and the truth of the story, so that when we take it into our imagination, there's no mismatch. That's very important. Sri Ramakrishna was absolutely explicit about this, how important it is that things be accurate. So this is what we're doing here, is we're getting this accurate description of this life of Holy Mother, so that we end of the Master and of her associates, so that we get this sense of who they are and how to hold them in our hearts. Of course, we hold them in our minds as well. That's where this is where the manana begins. We think about it. The contemplation begins. But then it moves from contemplation into concentration. That's when it moves into the heart, when we imagine what we've been contemplating. And then when that deepens and continues for a long enough time, it becomes meditation. And that leads to whatever it leads to in each of us. Each of us is unique, and so it leads to something unique. Any comments or from your own wisdom or experience, or any concern or question that you have? Okay, dears, please go ahead, dear.
Okay. Although their physical forms have disappeared, their spirit has entered into the veins of humanity. Holy Mother arrived in Calcutta on 27th February 1920 to enact the last part of her divine play. This portion lasted for 4 months and 21 days, and we shall watch it now with heavy hearts and tearful eyes.
Please read that again, dear. That's so touching.
Yes. Holy Mother arrived in Calcutta on 27th February 1920 to enact the last part of her divine play. This portion lasted for 4 months and 21 days, and we shall watch it now with heavy hearts and tearful eyes.
We shall watch it. Notice the way the Swami phrases this. We shall watch it. We shall imagine it. We shall see it. Beautiful. We shall watch it with heavy hearts and tearful eyes. And believe me, he's not kidding as far as he himself is concerned.
This book, Brother Shankara, when I'm reading, I almost feel like I am there as part of them, walking with them and riding with them. And I'm just right next to that whole scenery. It's written so well, as if you are in that play, in that real life.
Well, this is what I meant, dear, about Swami Chitananda being so very careful to get it perfectly correct, so that there's no mismatch between the description of the reality and the reality itself. So we can imagine ourselves there. We can imagine ourselves walking beside the palanquin and see Mother rubbing the oil on her legs, eating some puffed rice. We can hear Maku's voice as she cries out, "I'm thirsty from eating the puffed rice. I want some water," and so on and so forth. These are things for us to contemplate. Contemplate. We can choose what we want to contemplate. It's not there's any dogma about this, or we have to contemplate this. We can contemplate whatever we choose. But if we feel some heartfelt, if we're drawn to the Holy Mother, this book is, well, we know what it is. I don't have to describe it. Anything else from anyone while we're stopped? Okay, dear, please go on.
The disciples of the Master watched his last act for 10 months and 21 days as he suffered from cancer. People ask, if they are divine beings, why do they suffer? The answer is simple. They take the sins of others upon themselves to deliver sinners from the results of their karma. For this reason, they are called saviors. In Christianity, this is called vicarious. Is it vicarious, Brother Shankara?
Vicarious, yes, vicarious.
Vicarious atonement. Let me go back and read.
Now, think about the word atonement. It is a conflation of the words at one-ment, being unified. So please read it over again.
The disciples of the Master watched his last act for 10 months and 21 days as he suffered from cancer. People ask, if they are divine beings, why do they suffer? The answer is simple. They take the sins of others upon themselves to deliver sinners from the results of their karma. For this reason, they are called saviors. In Christianity, this is called vicarious atonement. Christians believe that Christ suffered in order to take the sins of humanity upon himself. In Hinduism, the avatar is Petit Pavan, the purifier of souls, and Kapal motion, one who has the power to wipe out another's karma.
Now just contemplate that. Please read that again.
I will.
Let us contemplate the fact that if we take refuge with them, whichever one it is, they haven't gone anywhere, as the Swami pointed out earlier. They are here with us in the realm of our imagination. And so these attributes remain there. And Krishna is so explicit about it in the Gita. Turn to me with utter devotion. I see no sinner. Holiness itself shall transform you. Please, dear.
Christians believe that Christ suffered in order to take the sins of humanity upon himself. In Hinduism, the avatar is Patit Pavan, meaning the purifier of souls, and Kapal motion, one who has the power to wipe out another's karma.
To unchain us and set us free, as Vivekananda wrote in the evening hymn. How great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free, to free us from this prison of rebirth and death, to free us from our karma that binds us to this cycle of rebirth and death. Okay, dear.
Okay. On 27 February 1920, Holy Mother arrived at Calcutta residence after 9 o'clock in the evening. There was no electricity in Udbodhan house at that time. When Yoginma saw Holy Mother in the light of a hurricane lantern, she exclaimed, "What sort of mother have you brought here, Bharata? Her complexion has become almost black. She is nothing but skin and bones. We never thought she was in such a bad state." The next morning, Swami Saradananda got all the news of the mother's journey from Jairampati to Calcutta. He learned that she had arrived late in Vishnupur because she had taken a break at Jaipur to feed the palanquin bearers. The Swami was pleased and commented, "Well, how can they carry the palanquin for 24 miles from Kolpara without eating something?" Bharata said, "The mother herself gave that instruction. She also ate some puffed rice, as did we." "Very well," Saradananda said, and he smiled.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
I'd like to back up to the previous paragraph. I have a couple of things to bring up.
Yes.
One is the sentence that says, "Christians believe that Christ suffered in order to take the sins of humanity upon himself." That statement is true, but it's been my understanding that that concept is not in the Bible. That's something that Christianity developed through dogma over time.
No, Christ said, "Those who drink from my mouth shall not taste death. Come to me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, and I shall give you rest."
Oh, okay.
My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added unto you. In other words, you'll be freed from everything that is hindering you and given everything that you need to be free. Know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. These things Christ said. Those who drink from my mouth shall not taste death. He says something like this to the woman at the well. If you drink the water that I give you, you won't die. But in the Gospel of Thomas, this is very explicitly said. Those who drink from my mouth shall not taste death. So Christ said all these things.
Thank you for correcting me on that. And so that might lead to my other misunderstanding. I don't know. I have always thought that the teachings of Hinduism have an advantage over Christianity in that instead of, now I'm not saying that Ramakrishna and Holy Mother didn't take on the sins of others. I totally understand that and don't doubt it. But that these teachings give us the opportunity to bring about our own salvation as opposed to depending on the vicarious atonement of Christianity. Am I somewhere in the ballpark, or am I way off?
No. Christ spoke to this group of people who were a conquered people that were suffering under Roman domination. These were patriarchal Jews, and he taught them in the way that they could relate to and understand. This is one of the things that is so important to understand about Christ's teachings and also the teachings of the Old Testament. All the truth is said by those old prophets in the Old Testament. Everything that Jesus said was prophesied, so to speak, or said by them. And it's in the Psalms and in the Proverbs. All the truth is there. It's just put in language that is not as familiar to us. And one of the problems is that a lot of the translations of the Christian scriptures is out of the Greek rather than the Aramaic that Christ spoke. And some Christian scholars have gone back to the source documents from which the Greeks translated. So every time you do a translation from one language to another, you're inevitably going to introduce some level of distortion. And so that's why Swami Chaitanananda is so careful. That's why I pointed out what I pointed out. He's so careful that what he translates, what he says, that these people said, Mother and her attendants and all, that he's so careful that what we hear in English is the same as what she said and they said. Now, you can find translations of, there is a scholar at the Mercer Theological Institute that has translated, if not all, at least a good portion of the New Testament from the Aramaic. I don't have a copy myself. I just know that I don't really have time to read it.
Is that the Lamsa Bible?
Say it again?
Is that the Lamsa, Lamsa, the Lamsa Bible written by George Lamsa?
I think you're right. I wouldn't swear to it, but I think you're right. And it is translated directly from the Aramaic. And this is the first time that we get an accurate translation of the word meek, what the word meek meant. You've heard me say it. It doesn't mean what we think it means. It means a well-trained horse that obeys commands, that has the temperament to be properly trained, so that that horse will obey commands even in the heat of battle. So that's a meek horse. So when Christ said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth," that's what he meant. Someone who has the temperament that can take his instructions and make them a part of their lives, so that they will follow those instructions even in the heat of battle and struggle. Very interesting. I think you're right. I think it is the Lamsa Bible.
I have the Lamsa Bible, and I can't say that I have read it cover to cover, but when I am curious about a particular verse in the Bible and I look it up in different versions, the Lamsa Bible generally is in agreement with like the King James Version and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Not always, but generally it's true that there are some differences, certainly.
Well, those scholars that did the King James Bible, they weren't trying to torture the text. They were trying to render it accurately, but they were translating from the Greek. And that's where.
And to your point about translation, it's my understanding that Lamsa did his translation based on the Bible in Aramaic, which is called the Peshitta. And while in the Western world, by the time we got to the King James Version, it had been translated 3 or 4 different times from the Greek and other things. The Peshitta had stayed the same. So when you do a translation from the Peshitta, it is as close to the genuine article as you can get. And I think that's...
This is my understanding from what's been told to me, yes. And like I say, I've never read it. I've never had my hands on a copy.
To digress a little bit, one of the famous verses that the Peshitta gets right is, we're familiar with the statement, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the Peshitta, it's not camel, it's rope. And it holds up, the meaning is still true, but it makes much more sense to talk about passing a rope through the eye of a needle than it does a camel. And
yes.
That was a translation error that creeped into the
yes.
James. Yeah.
You just never know why these things happen. Thank you, dear.
So,
and I'm glad you have a copy of the Lamsa Bible to check on. Anything else from anyone before we go ahead? Okay.
The next subheading is Holy Mother's medical treatment. After Holy Mother arrived, Swami Saradananda and the medical team began her treatment with great hope and expectation. The mother was not sent to a hospital, but all the best doctors in Calcutta were engaged one after another, and they came to Udbodhan House to treat her to the best of their ability. Holy Mother's burning fever rose and fell and rose again, but she silently endured it all without complaint. Saradananda was extremely concerned about the mother's delicate health and carefully followed the doctor's advice. He and the mother's disciples took turns feeding and nursing her with great love and care, thus fulfilling Ramakrishna's prophecy that many people would come to look after her. The following is a chronology of Holy Mother's treatment. February 28th to 11th March 1920, Dr. Jnanendranath Kanjilal, a disciple of the mother, began to treat her. He was an allopathic doctor, but he also practiced homeopathy. He had treated the mother previously, so he knew her system. Under his homeopathic treatment, her fever subsided on the 4th day, but on the 7th day, it again rose to 101 degrees. Sarada Nanda called in a new doctor. 12th March to 7th April 1920, Kaviraj Shamadas Vachaspati, a famous Ayurvedic doctor, began to treat the mother. His treatment showed some result after a week, and the mother had no fever for the next 15 days. The monks and devotees were joyful, and they began to visit the mother again. Unfortunately, the fever returned. In addition, Vachaspati's treatment featured a decoction made from indigenous herbs that was so bitter that the mother's whole mouth was affected. She lost her sense of taste and had no appetite. When Vachaspati was informed of this, he said that this was the only medicine prescribed in his Ayurvedic scriptures for the mother's disease. Saradananda turned to an allopathic doctor. 8th April to 30th April 1920, Dr. Bipin Bihari Ghosh, a cousin of Swami Premananda, began to treat the mother. He was an allopathic doctor, but his medicine could not bring the mother's fever down. On 10th April, the mother had some stomach pain, and Dr. Haran Chandra Bandyopadhyay gave her a medicine that provided relief. Dr. Bipin Bihari Ghosh left for Gatshila, and during his absence, Dr. Durgapada Ghosh, Dr. Satish Chakrabarti, and Dr. Kanjilal treated the mother. On 13th April, Dr. Suresh Chandra Bhattacharya came to see the mother. When Dr. Bipin Bihari Ghosh returned on 15th April, he changed the prescription after consulting with Dr. Durgapada Ghosh. Dr. Bipin Ghosh insisted on a Somin injection for Holy Mother. Saradananda then consulted with the medical team and decided to bring in a specialist, Dr. Pranadhan Basu, a famous allopathic doctor who was also a Bengali Christian. On 28th April, the mother's blood was tested by Dr. J.M. Dasgupta. No bacteria or Kala Azar. That means Kala Azar is a slow progressing fatal disease caused by a protozoan parasite of the genus Leishmania. In India, Leishmania donovani is the only parasite that causes this disease. Its main symptoms are a recurrent fever, loss of appetite, weakness, pallor, weight loss with progressive emaciation, and enlargement of spleen and liver. Anemia develops rapidly. So no bacteria or Kala Azar cells were found in mother's blood.
Thank God.
1st of May to 31st May 1920, Dr. Pranadhan Basu arrived and began to treat the mother with special care. He charged 16 rupees for a house call and 5 rupees for taxi fare. Saradananda called on Dr. Suresh Chandra Bhattacharya and Dr. Neelratan Sarkar to assist in diagnosing Holy Mother's illness. On 16th May, Dr. Basu declared that the mother had Kala Azar or black fever and suggested that she be given an injection. Ishanananda wrote, in the evening, Dr. Neil Ratan Sarkar came and examined the mother and also declared that she had Kala Azar. Observing the mother's physical weakness, he said it would not be possible for her to bear the strong injection of medicine. So the treatment continued as usual. Dr. Sarkar did not change her diet. Dr. Shamapada Mukherjee gave Holy Mother injections of Somin on 22nd and 25th May 1920. Swami Ishanananda wrote a touching story about Dr. Pranadhan Basu. In the evening, Dr. Pranadhan Basu, a Christian physician, came to see Holy Mother. After examining her, the doctor went to Sharat Maharaj's room downstairs. One afternoon, Tara, an actress, brought the mother gifts of fruits, sweets, and flowers. Mother asked me, Bharata, you carry Tara's tuberose flowers, sweets, and the remaining things to the doctor's car. The Christian people love flowers. The doctor prescribed some medicine and a proper diet and received his fee and taxi fare from Lalit Babu, who was mother's disciple. While getting into the car, the doctor saw baskets full of fruits, sweets, and flowers. He asked who had given all these things. Sharat Maharaj replied, Mother has presented you with those things. Please, the doctor left Udbodhan. The next day, Dr. Basu was in the mother's room in Udbodhan and saw Sri Ramakrishna's picture and other pictures on the altar. Curious, he asked Saradananda downstairs, who is this patient that I've been treating all these days? Sharadananda, you are treating Sri Ramakrishna's wife. She is the mother of the Ramakrishna order. Dr. Basu, who provides all these expenses for the treatment? Saradananda, some generous devotees. Dr. Basu, my goodness, why did you not tell me earlier? After prescribing medicine and diet, the doctor was about to leave, and Sharat Maharaj offered money as usual for his fee and taxi fare. The doctor humbly said, you have made your life blessed by serving her all through your life with steadfast, fast devotion. Please allow me to serve her a little in the last part of my life. He said this with great feeling from his heart. From that day on, Dr. Basu never took any money from his visits to the mother.
Now, this is quite a, he was charging 16 rupees, which was a lot of money in those days, and 5 rupees for the taxi fare. He must have been coming from quite a distance for it to be 5 rupees. So it was. So when he began to forego that, that was really quite an austerity on his part. So bless him for taking that attitude and doing that.
And Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Also on the preceding page, Dr. Basu is identified as being a Bengali Christian. So he is
Yes.
a Christian man, and yet he is still very touched by her presence and his understanding of who she is.
Yes. Oh, well, if he was a good practicing Christian, he would not have been able to ignore what the mother was. So it is now
I can leave it here, Brother Shankara. Stop.
8:29.
Yes, can I stop it right here, or do you want
Yes,
me to?
please. Yes. No, please.
Okay.
Leave it here. We'll pick it up here next week.
We'll pick it up next week.
But dears, we've heard such touching information here. How hard Shardananda tried, and what expense and effort was gone to make the mother comfortable, to relieve her of her disease. In this terrible parasitic disease, oh God! Now I'm reasonably certain that modern medicine has eradicated it, or all but eradicated it. But in those days, these parasitic diseases, and the fact that it affected the liver and the kidneys, and it also no doubt affected the pancreas, which is one of the reasons that anemia would set in, because the pancreas is where the red blood cells are created. These parasites are they're horrible. So the mother was suffering from this great weakness, and there was nothing they could do really to stop it. So, this is why the Swami said, with heavy hearts and tearful eyes, if we stop and contemplate the mother of the universe, having taken human form for no other reason than to alleviate our suffering, and here she is at the end of her life, going through all of this because she has taken on the karma of others. And anyway, any final thought or question from anyone? All right, Tears. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amrutangamaya Abir Moiti. Oh, dearly beloved, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless confusion to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga, Durga, Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. May we be always in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Om Hari Om Tat Sat, beloved, make it so. Any final thought from anyone? All right, dears. Until next time.
Good night.
For those of you who are interested in a retreat being offered by Swami Sarvapriyananda next month in New Jersey, please send me an email or give me a call, and I'll forward you the details. John Gano came into this knowledge of he's not able to go, but he wanted me to share it with anybody that might be able to go. Sarva Priyananda giving a retreat. I don't remember the subject, but of course it will be Advaita Vedanta. That is his main topic of conversation. So if anyone would like to have the details of that retreat, I think it's a weekend retreat with Swami Sarva Priyananda, let me know. Anything else from anyone?
Brother
Well,
Shankara,
good night to you all.
Brother Shankara, is it going to be on a Zoom link for anybody who cannot go, or just only live?
I don't believe so, dear. But
Only live.
I can't say that for sure.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll have more details.
Okay.
And I've also invited Swami Sarvapriyananda here to talk on the Ashtavakra Gita, which is one of the premier scriptures of
Wonderful.
of Advaita.
That'll be
That invitation was just issued today, so I haven't heard back from him. But I'm sure he'll schedule us probably sometime well into next year. He's so busy. I mean, this is a rock star, Swami. He's so busy.
Yes, he sure is.
So anything else from anyone?
Thank you.
And if there is going to be a Zoom link, but I don't think so, because they're asking for registration for this. And I don't know what the Swami's intentions are, how he goes about these things. So, a great and restful and restorative night to all of you. May we be well and in bright spirits.